Good morning, and welcome to the Daily Signal. I'm your host, Remo, and it's Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Today's world feels like it's spinning faster than ever, and we're here to help you make sense of it all. We're tracking major developments across 3 continents that are reshaping global politics and security, from Ukraine's bold strikes deep into Russian territory to a stunning government collapse in the Netherlands, from South Korea welcoming a new leader promising unity to an unexpected military buildup in Britain. Today's stories are connected by threads of conflict, change, and the search for stability in an uncertain world. We'll also dive into ongoing humanitarian crises in Gaza, mysterious developments with North Korea's naval forces, and even a fascinating piece of history as thousands evacuate Cologne to safely remove World War II bombs that still lurk beneath our modern cities. It's a packed 15 minutes ahead, so let's dive right in with the story that has defense experts around the globe paying very close attention. The war in Ukraine has taken a dramatic turn that has Washington deeply concerned. A senior Trump administration envoy warned yesterday that risk levels are going way up after Ukraine successfully struck Russian bomber aircraft deep inside Russian territory. This isn't just another battlefield update. This represents a significant escalation in the conflict. Ukraine has been using long-range capabilities to target Russian military assets hundreds of miles from the front lines, including strategic bomber aircraft that Russia uses to launch attacks on Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The Trump envoy's warning reflects growing concern that Russia may respond to these strikes by escalating further, potentially drawing NATO allies deeper into the conflict. For everyday people, this matters because it affects global energy prices, food security, and the broader question of whether this regional conflict might expand beyond Ukraine's borders. Military analysts say Ukraine's ability to strike deep into Russia changes the strategic calculus entirely. Russia can no longer consider its military bases safe from retaliation. But it also raises the stakes dramatically, which is exactly what has the Trump administration sounding these alarm bells. Halfway around the world, South Korea is experiencing its own moment of change. Lee Jae-myung has been elected as the country's new leader, pledging to unite a nation that has been deeply divided by political scandals, economic pressures, and tensions with North Korea. South Korea has been through a tumultuous period. Think of it like a family that's been arguing for years and finally decides they need to sit down and work things out. Lee's victory comes at a time when the country faces challenges on multiple fronts: a slowing economy, rising inequality, and the constant security concerns posed by North Korea's unpredictable behavior. What makes this particularly interesting is Lee's background. He's positioned himself as a political outsider who can bridge the gap between South Korea's conservative and progressive factions. His promise to unite the country resonates with voters who are exhausted by political gridlock. For the broader region, this matters enormously. South Korea sits at the center of Northeast Asian geopolitics, and its relationship with China, Japan, and the United States affects everything from trade deals to military cooperation. A more stable, unified South Korea could be exactly what the region needs right now. Speaking of political upheaval, the Netherlands is experiencing a government crisis that caught everyone by surprise. The Dutch government has collapsed after far-right leader Geert Wilders abruptly quit the ruling coalition. Now, government collapses might sound dramatic, but in European parliamentary systems, they're more like a reset button than a catastrophe. What makes this significant is the timing and the cause. Wilders, whose Party for Freedom had gained significant influence in the coalition, walked away over what sources describe as irreconcilable differences on immigration and European Union policies. The Netherlands has been grappling with the same issues facing many European countries: how to balance national sovereignty with EU membership, how to manage immigration, and how to address the concerns of citizens who feel left behind by globalization. This collapse will likely trigger new elections, and the outcome could reshape not just Dutch politics, but the entire European political landscape. The Netherlands is a founding EU member and a major economic power. When Dutch politics shift, Brussels pays attention. For ordinary Europeans, this means potential policy changes on everything from housing costs to environmental regulations could be on the table. The ripple effects of global instability are being felt in Britain, where Prime Minister is calling for a significant military expansion specifically to counter Russian threats. This represents the largest proposed increase in UK defense spending in decades. This isn't just political posturing. Britain is genuinely concerned about Russian military capabilities and intentions. The UK government is essentially saying, we need a bigger military because the world has become more dangerous, and we can't rely on others to protect us. The proposal includes expanding the Royal Navy, strengthening cyber defense capabilities, and increasing Britain's ability to project power globally. Think of it as the UK deciding it needs a bigger security system because the neighborhood has become less safe. What's particularly interesting is how this reflects a broader shift in European thinking. For decades after the Cold War, many European countries reduced their military spending, believing the era of large-scale conflict was over. Russia's actions in Ukraine have shattered that assumption. For British taxpayers, this means potentially higher defense spending and taxes. For global stability, it means NATO's second-largest military power is preparing to take on greater responsibilities in an increasingly uncertain world. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to deepen, with a U.S.-backed aid group halting distribution operations due to security concerns. Meanwhile, the United Nations is preparing for another vote on ceasefire demands, highlighting the international community's struggle to address this ongoing tragedy. Behind these headlines are real people, families who depend on aid deliveries for basic necessities like food, medicine, and clean water. When aid groups suspend operations, it doesn't just mean delayed deliveries. It means children going hungry and sick, people unable to access treatment. The suspension of aid distribution reflects the complex security situation on the ground. Aid workers face significant risks, and organizations must balance their humanitarian mission with the safety of their staff. It's a heartbreaking calculation that no one should have to make. The upcoming UN vote on ceasefire demands represents another attempt at diplomatic intervention, though previous similar votes have failed to achieve lasting results. The challenge is that calling for a ceasefire is easier than implementing one. It requires all parties to agree, and the underlying political issues remain unresolved. For the international community, Gaza represents a test of our ability to protect civilian populations in conflict zones and deliver humanitarian aid when it's needed most. Here's a story that intelligence analysts around the world are watching closely. Satellite images show that a North Korean frigate that was partially submerged appears to have been raised and is now upright again. Now, you might wonder why anyone cares about one North Korean ship. But in the world of military intelligence, every detail about North Korea's capabilities matters because the country is so secretive. When a military vessel that was damaged or sunk suddenly appears operational again, it tells us something about North Korea's naval repair capabilities and potentially their military priorities. The fact that North Korea invested the resources to salvage and repair this frigate suggests they consider their naval forces important, which has implications for regional security in Northeast Asia. It also demonstrates technical capabilities that might have been underestimated. For neighboring countries like South Korea and Japan, North Korea's naval activities are always a concern because they affect shipping lanes and regional stability. Back to Ukraine, where forces are reportedly targeting the vital Crimean Bridge, a massive infrastructure project that connects mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia annexed in 2014. This bridge isn't just a piece of infrastructure. It's a symbol of Russian control over Crimea and a critical supply line for Russian military operations. Attacking it is both strategically valuable and politically significant. The Crimean Bridge has been targeted before, but Russia has heavily fortified it with air defenses, making it a challenging target. If Ukraine succeeds in significantly damaging it, it would disrupt Russian supply lines and send a powerful message about Ukraine's ability to strike deep into Russian-controlled territory. For the broader conflict, this represents Ukraine's strategy of taking the fight beyond traditional front lines and forcing Russia to defend assets it previously considered safe. Sometimes history literally surfaces in our modern world. Thousands of residents in Cologne, Germany, are being evacuated so that World War II bombs can be safely defused, a reminder that the past still shapes our present in unexpected ways. This might seem like a curiosity, but it's actually a regular occurrence across Europe. Construction projects regularly uncover unexploded ordnance from World War II, and these discoveries require careful handling by specialized teams. What's remarkable is how communities come together during these evacuations. Neighbors helping elderly residents, businesses adjusting schedules, and everyone accepting this unusual inconvenience as part of living with history. In a notable development, Ukraine's international backers met to coordinate military aid and ammunition supplies, but for the first time, the Pentagon chief was absent from these crucial discussions. This absence is being closely analyzed by diplomatic observers, as U.S. participation in these coordination meetings has been seen as essential. The Pentagon's absence could signal shifting priorities in Washington or simply scheduling conflicts, but in international diplomacy, symbolism matters as much as substance. The meeting itself focused on ensuring continued weapons and ammunition supplies to Ukraine, a logistical challenge that requires careful coordination among dozens of countries. Finally, 5 countries have been elected to serve on the UN Security Council, marking a shift in the body responsible for maintaining international peace and security. While these non-permanent seats rotate regularly, they provide smaller nations with a voice in global security decisions. The newly elected countries will help address the various crises we've discussed today, from Ukraine to Gaza to regional tensions worldwide. As we wrap up today's Daily Signal, the threads connecting these stories become clear. We're witnessing a world in transition. Old assumptions about security and stability are being challenged. New leaders are emerging with promises of unity and change, and nations are adapting their strategies to meet evolving threats. From Ukraine's bold strikes to South Korea's new leadership, from government collapses in Europe to military buildups in Britain, the common theme is adaptation. Societies and governments adjusting to a world that feels less predictable than it did just a few years ago. Even the discovery of those World War II bombs in Cologne reminds us that history has a long reach, and today's decisions will echo into the future, just as wartime choices still affect us today. The question for all of us is how we navigate this uncertainty while maintaining the values and institutions that promote peace, prosperity, and human dignity. That's your Daily Signal for June 4th, 2025. I'm Remo. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you tomorrow with another round of the stories shaping our world. Until then, take care.